Okay. Greetings and peace, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Today, I have the honor and privilege and pleasure of being joined by my sister from another mother, Gaby Zacara from England. I've been following Gaby's work for a while, and she embodies what the divine feminine represents in her sound healing therapies and what the divine feminine role plays in the modern world, which is full of chaos and division and confusion. So I wanted to have Gaby's perspective on today. And for all my friends and brothers here in America, I want you to listen to her and learn from her and cherish her knowledge and words and presence that she's gifting us with today. So without further ado, I hand it over to Gaby Zacara.
Hi. Such nice words, honestly. I've never been spoken about like that before. So thanks so much. And it's such a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. And Gaby, I wanted to ask you, like, from your perspective, how we're seeing the world, how do you see the divine feminine and the role that's being played in the modern world, especially after you go past 2020 and the world kind of started changing drastically with the COVID lockdowns and I guess all the changes that I've seen, even myself. Last time I was in England was 2019, and after 2 years, even I saw a lot of changes that occurred. So how do you see the divine feminine's role in a society full of misogyny and the healing aspect that the mother gives or the divine feminine gives to humanity? How do you see things going in the next 10 to 20 years? No, I think
Really good question. And nourishing, being the feminine, like nurturing, and I think like nurturing the self. And so I feel like what's happened most recently is just everyone just starting to want to do the work and look after themselves and give themselves that self-love, and rather than like numbing themselves and trying to run away from themselves or their pain and their trauma and their shadow, actually now taking that responsibility and wanting to like look after themselves, like mother themselves, father themselves, parent themselves,
yeah.
and to kind of just better ourselves. And I see that that's where the world's going. Everyone's now doing the work because, as we all know, in the spiritual community, like big shifts are happening. Like heaven on earth is coming.
Yes.
The golden age is here. So it's all going to go well. But at the minute, the divine feminine, for me, I can just see everyone or a lot of people just trying to look after themselves, look after each other, and just basically embody a lot more love.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Um,
absolutely right.
and I think that we do, yeah. I think
And
we've become disconnected from our hearts and from kind of each other and stuff. And that people say that like the mother of the family is like the glue of a family. The father's a leader and a teacher, and the mother's the one that holds it all together. And I think the divine feminine as well will be coming and kind of holding, just trying to unite people and glue everyone together and just bring us all back into unity.
yes, and I agree with you completely, and you answered that in a very beautiful manner. Now, I would also like to ask you, Gaby, how is it that you became Gaby Zacara? What is it in your life that led you to become who you are today? Where who you are, what you represent, your healing nature, your loving nature, your accepting nature. What is it in your life that led you to who you are today?
I think that since young I was writing like songs, and it started just from being aware about the different issues that go on in the world. But when I was about 15, I just started writing songs about just all the darkness in the world and just trying to like shine a light on it, like say child abuse, like starving children in Africa or like in different countries, and basically just trying to choose different topics that people don't look at, especially in the Western world, and to go, right, here's it in your face. Like, don't forget about these people who are suffering at the minute. What can we do about it? So it's just been something within me that wanted to write songs like that initially, and to make a difference or make a change. Um, and so I'd say that's kind of like where it all started. It's just been something within, and since kind of like doing music and stuff, kind of like years down the line, particularly when I went vegan, I'd say I started having a bit of more of like a spiritual awareness. And I've always believed in like angels and ghosts and things. I used to see ghosts when I was younger. So I always knew there was more to this life anyway. And yeah, it all just kind of built and progressed. And what's happened more recently is, since looking after my health, since showing myself that like self-love and actually going, "Do you know what, rather than arse my life away or like eat crap all the time, I'm actually going to like treat myself like I am my own like parents, and go, no, do you know what, you need a bit more self-discipline, you need to just like do more of the work." And since then it's just been a case of every day me wanting to be my best self and to learn, just to grow, to become who I'm meant to be. So it's
Yes,
always a journey.
that's absolutely right. And in my life, I realized you're always where you're meant to be, things that you're meant to do, places that you're meant to see. And you were gifted with that love, light, and seeing that vision of seeing everything from such a young age. And especially the divine feminine, most people don't realize is that the divine feminine carries an intuition inside of her. So you kind of knew what the world was, what you were expecting, the role that you were meant to play. And that was kind of leading you up into the being that you are today, which is
Mm.
another question that I had observing your work is how do you see the aspect of sound healing therapies helping people with traumas or those that are trying to better understand themselves and the world around them, especially those like the traumas that impact their abilities to have relationships or just to be able to interact with the world in general.
Do you know what? Like, everyone, no matter like where you are, no matter what language you speak or anything, everyone loves music, and everyone like has certain songs that just make them feel like life's okay. Like, you always have those songs, if you're down, you go and play that song and suddenly you just feel like better. It can pump you up, it can just completely change your mood. And that's just on a really shallow basis. Like, music can do so much more, and there's a lot more kind of physics to it. But even just on the surface, we all know that music can make you feel good. It can help you release those tears if you were, it can just do so much anyway. So um that's like the basic thing. But sound healing itself, like, sound is basically just frequency. It's basically light, but on a lower lower frequency. And
Hmm.
so you would actually see, some people can actually see sound because they can actually pick up on those types of frequencies and perhaps with their third eye. But yeah, like, sound can, it's just a frequency. So is like trapped trauma, your emotions, your body, everything is just a frequency. So you can use different sounds to like kind of kill cancer cells. You can use sound to feed you energetically in chakras that are understimulated. You can use sound to do the opposite. So if a chakra is overstimulated, you can use the opposite sound. And I say opposite in the way that you'd see like the color wheel, or I don't know if you've seen the syncretism wheel that Santos Bonacci's done, but
Yes, yes.
yeah, everything has its equal pair of opposite, and they negate each other when you bring them together. So if you had like, say, red, what's the opposite to red? Is it green on the color
I think
wheel?
it would probably be blue or green.
Yeah. So say if your root chakra being red
Mm,
needed calming down, then you could use the opposite color, which might be green, or the opposite musical frequency, which is related to that color, to
mm.
then kind of heal it. And you can even get rid of pain with sound. There's so much you can do because it's all just frequency. Um, so I think that this is all hidden knowledge that we knew, like we knew loads back in the day.
Yes.
And people even would go into stone circles and sing different chants, and you could lift the stones, you could grow limbs again if
Mm.
you were stood like in this particular area. There's loads of things you can do, and it literally just tapping into it again. But I know that the future, it's all going to come back. And sound healing is just literally going to be something we all do every day. Even just singing a little song and it cleanses the energy in the room or something, that it'll be something that we all do naturally. And yeah, it's only the tip of the iceberg, and I'm looking forward to seeing like where the future's going to take it, really.
Yes, definitely. And you are absolutely right in terms of finding that intuition within yourself to make the realization that I have to heal myself. Because the only way you do solve the problem is first when you admit there is one.
Mhm.
And it's like what you said, in the future and things, the way humanity is waking up, things are definitely changing. And I know when I went to Stonehenge, I kind of felt that energy. And I myself did like prayers of protection, and the feeling of sound and prayers and the intention behind it is absolutely fascinating. And I agree with you completely. Now, I
Mhm.
would also like to ask you, Gabby, is in this culture right now, where we see a shift from patriarchy to matriarchy, how do you see over time, like the matriarchs, or such as yourself as the divine feminine, in the culture, in these industries full of misogyny and abuse, taking back that control and taking back that aspect of the healing, and how not to look at women as objects of gratification, but as your mothers, your sisters, your wives, your daughters, your friends, in that kind of honorable way? How would you see the matriarch playing that role within the next 10 to 20 years?
I think a lot of it is to do with taking responsibility. So a lot of like men get mislabeled as toxic masculinity,
Mm-hmm.
but us, a lot of women have like a shadow, like a negative opinion on men because we believe they're pervs or we believe whatever it is. I've
Mm.
had that experience in the past, so now I think every guy that even looks at me is checking me out in some way, rather than they just looked at me accidentally and I've misread it. And we can project that onto men a lot, and
Yeah.
men might project it onto men as well. We always, all of us, project onto each other,
Yes.
and we've all both got masculine and feminine within us. So I personally think that one, it's about us. It's just about us all doing the healing work. I might have toxic masculinity in me, like I think that once we all start to balance the two and heal whichever side of us needs healing, and become like unified in our masculine and feminine in balance, then the external world is just going to follow suit. So I think that the biggest thing really is us all just doing the internal work, and rather than hating on each other and us women going, oh, do you know what, men, you've pushed us down for this many years or whatever. Now I'm like, now it's the rise of the feminine and the men are going.
Yes.
I think it's not the rise of the feminine. She might be rising back to me, but it's now the period of unity, rather than I think like years and years ago, it was like women ruled and women were like the emperors, and there was like a real like woman led
Mm.
society back way back when, and then it's now gone to men are above women. And I think now what's going is basically we're all unifying and coming together, and obviously then like everything else will follow suit, really. Equality for all.
Yes, yes, that's right. And that's so important, Gabby, that you address the aspect of the divine feminine and masculine, because even myself, following the Sufi path and Sufism, and also as a Freemason, I see that inside, in these internal qualities, we have those divine masculine and feminine that we need to unite as one, because that basically represents the God energy, that perfect androgynous, that perfect being, which represents goodness from both sides, from the nurturer to the carer to the provider to the protector. All of those things are needed in our society. And you're right, we have a society that's been out of balance with both the divine feminine and masculine, where we might project our own insecurities onto others without doing that inner work on our own. And that's very important that you are addressing those things in this society, which I would also like to ask in, let's say, in the next 10, 20, 30 years, not just in England, but America, but like the whole world in general, with these spiritual changes that are taking place, and especially with our education system, where we realize most of the things that we learned were probably fabricated to a certain extent, and we probably ended up learning the truth in some other ways. How do you see humanity's awakening within the next 10, 20, 30 years on a global level from your perspective of your divine, loving, feminine nature, and how humanity will be able to stop greed, stop wars, stop like the aspect of, because when I was in London, I saw a lot of rough sleepers, or what they call in America, homeless people. And I asked one of my friends in London that because of COVID, all these places and offices are empty. They can house these people, they can help these people, but why are they not helping these people? So how do you see the aspect of equality in terms of making sure everyone is treated with dignity from your perspective? And I would love to hear.
Mm. I know that the people who like supply our energy, or those who are in power at the minute or who have been, they get free energy, they print money, like
Mm,
they get like they basically have power over the resources, but in reality we can all get free energy without it costing anyone anything. Like that used to be a thing as well back in the day. So
mm,
I believe that what's going to happen is in 2012 there was a big awakening, everyone was talking about it, and it was basically Christ consciousness coming back to earth. And in 2012 it was the masculine aspect of Christ consciousness that came, and then 9 years later, which is now 2021, which is
mm,
the opposite to 2012. Now the feminine aspect of Christ consciousness is coming in, and particularly on the winter solstice. And the word feminine or feminine, it has the word nine in it, and which is the 9 years later. It's the 9 years of gestation and things like that. So we've got the masculine coming then. The feminine now is coming in here, which is basically going to be enlightenment en masse, Christ consciousness en masse. It's going to be a big awakening for everyone this winter solstice.
mm.
And then I see these big celestial alignments or these big awakenings happening then as like 9 year cycles. So I think that basically we're going to basically see a lot of big changes, and then there's going to be these big momentous periods where a lot of people are going to then have their awakening. It's about us all, once we do start awakening, it's helping others and just eventually progressing it. And then obviously what's going to happen is there's going to be so much kind of light, there's going to be so much positivity on the earth that the outside is going to end up remanifesting itself to systems that work for us. And I don't quite know how yet. I do believe that the Christ himself is actually here and is going to basically become king, ruler of the earth. And
Yeah.
when I say the Christ, and this is the sun, basically the soul of the sun incarnates onto the earth as an ascended master and helps humanity in different periods. And Jesus was one, but Buddha, Krishna, Muhammad, in my eyes, they're all the same soul who's come down to help humanity in different times. So I believe that he's here again. He's going to take control. Once that happens, you know that there's going to be free energy for everyone, free
Mm,
housing for everyone, free food for everyone. I believe that they changed the climate and the weather, and that actually, if it was left to its natural devices, we might be able to grow food everywhere. We might be able to grow like fruit and everything that we need everywhere. But because they've changed the weather, manipulated it, now we have to rely on like only certain areas can grow food and stuff. So I think that once we do the inner work, the outer will start shifting. I don't quite know how those who are like in power at the minute are going to end up falling, and how the systems are going to fall and stuff like that. But I do believe that it's not going to be long until we do have like everyone who's not got a house has got a house. Everyone's got free food. The bare necessities that we need, I
mm,
know, will be given to us as a staple thing. And I also believe that we'll all get like, we won't have to work as much. We probably all get an allowance whether we work or not, and then you can earn more if you want to and stuff like that. It's just going to be so much more fair, and I don't think that we've got long to wait, to be honest.
Oh, I can't wait for that day. And it's interesting, Gabby, that you mentioned that, because imagine living in a society where it doesn't matter what class, your social class that you're in, or what race that you belong to, because that's a difference that I've seen from here, America and in England. America, it's more like a race-based thing. And in England, I saw it's based on the social class, like where you went to school and where do you live and those kind of things, or who do you associate with. So each area, it's kind of dealing with its own struggles. But you're right. You could imagine just a world where you could go to the supermarket, just grab whatever you need, and everything is abundant. It's provided for because the earth does have enough resources. It has enough resources to provide for everyone and more. But it's like the top 1%, like you said, those who cast the spells, those who maintain their control, print their money. That's the thing that we need to watch out for. And you're right, things will change over time as more people begin waking up over time and start seeing the oneness in all of this with Christ, Buddha, Muhammad, all of them, peace be upon them all, that everyone was teaching you the truth in their own way, in their own respective ways. Which I would like to ask you, Gaby, is that from your perspective, myself representing the male and yourself representing the female, what would you tell the males of this world in terms of how to respect women properly and how to love women properly, how to nurture and care for your mothers, your daughters, your wives, your sisters? And I just want to listen to you. I'm just enjoying listening to you explain.
Um, I would say just to like love yourself first, because a lot of the time, like hurt people hurt people. So a lot of the time, if you like respected yourself, if you love yourself, if you eat well, like health and diet is such a big thing for your mood. If you're
Mm,
generally quite a stressy person and can get angry and then you lash out at like say your mom or something and you feel guilty for it after whatever it is, I can guarantee you if you were eating a raw plant-based diet or even just whole food plant-based diet, you would not be reacting in that way. Perhaps a little bit, but it would completely change the way that you react because, like I said, food is mood. And if you're eating animal products, particularly, there's so many hormones in it. There's so many like drugs in it. There's all crap in it that's completely messing with your chemistry. And so, if men want to learn self-love and learn self-respect, the first thing I would say is to start eating well and do like a cleanse first, but go plant-based, try and eat whole foods, get rid of like sugar and wheat. And also just assess your situation, like assess your friends. And this advice actually goes to women as well, but just because you asked about men, but assess who you're hanging out with, because if you're hanging out with people who subconsciously are trying to pull you down, they don't actually want you to succeed. They make snide digs at you all the time. If you did go vegan and they were trying to like, call you silly names and stuff, because when I went vegan, a lot of my friends would say like silly things to me as
yes.
a joke, but it was like half a joke, half not. But anyone who's like not trying in their life and stuff,
Mm,
you might want to find people who want to get better, who want to be better, like, people who can lift you up and support you. And
yes.
then also like just kind of like for me, like I gave up alcohol, and that for me was really nice as well. Like there's certain drugs that can lower your vibration, and then what happens is when you're nutritionally deficient and you're taking certain drugs, you can end up allowing demons in. Like you can create them yourself, but people can send you demons as well. Like someone
Mm,
can just look at you and think, I don't like you for whatever reason, send you negative energy, send you an anger demon or whatever it is.
mm,
Suddenly you're then being angry to other people, but it's not come from you. So it's like being protecting of your energy, like connecting to earth every day so that you can basically sort out your energy, get rid of negative energy that's in you. And once you start loving yourself in those ways, and this is why I said it's like being a parent, because a parent will go, no, you've got to eat your greens first before you're allowed to do whatever it is. So it's like looking at yourself going, right, I need to eat well. If certain drugs do open you up spiritually and can benefit you spiritually, but not all the time. Yeah, like being aware of who you're hanging with, and I think that once you have that respect for your health and yourself, then it naturally just like kind of goes out then to the people around you as well. So yeah, it's all about doing the inner work, facing your traumas, facing your shadow. If something does anger you, ask why, and then get to the root of that and try and heal it, and go from there. Really, I just think that a new man about, and it's the man who wants to take responsibility for his, not like his finances and his work, but his like emotions and his mental state and himself. Basically, it's not about the material anymore. It's not about how much money you've earned or whether you've got your own house. It's about like how like kind of sound you are, like how nice you are, like whether you actually want to be a better person, even if you're not right now. The
Mm.
fact that you want to be nicer to your mom, you want to change, that's the biggest thing ever. And I think that this new man who's like that is rising up all around. So that's what I'd say anyway. And obviously that goes to women as well, really.
Yeah, and thank you so much for that, because I realized even in my life, Gabby, from the perspective of the male, that you are definitely what you eat and who you keep company with. And there is that aspect of spiritual warfare where you will have things like, because you have the element of light and darkness everywhere in all races, religions, and groups. It's everywhere. But we must be on the element of the light. And I noticed that as long as you're heart is pure, you're doing affirmations for yourself and you're doing the right thing, and removing alcohol from your life, which I'm very proud of you, because alcohol is in Arabic, it's called alcohol, like these demonic forces that you allow into your vessel and they impair your judgment. So removing things like that, healthy living, healthy eating, surrounding yourself with good people, loving yourself, healing yourself, and just to know thyself, know thy Lord, and know thyself, is all those aspects that make you realize is that I can look at myself and love and respect myself. I can look at you and love you and respect you as the divine feminine, as a sisterly figure. I can look at other mothers and wives and friends and brothers and sisters, knowing that in this human life, we're kind of all walking each other home in this short journey called life. And we owe this love and light to one another. And in the Sufi aspect, Gabby, they say that you have the perfect being, the creator, which is experiencing and understanding reality through itself. So basically, it's manifested in your avatar, my current avatar that my soul inhabits right now. And all of these things, realizing that it's all a journey of oneness, unity, strength, courage. I know in the, some of the male friends that I dealt with, it would always be about just driving the best car or scoring the best women or just doing what is necessary. And I never had an affinity for any of that, because I knew something was not right with that, because it was not whole. It was not love. It was not true love. It was not something that was sacred. It was perversion and diabolical. And that stood out to me. And I'm thinking something in this world doesn't seem right to me. It's just like how yourself, in your youth, you were seeing ghosts and you were connecting to that spiritual realm, that nothing in this world, we realize, Gabby, works the way that we think it does. There was always these different aspects. And that's what motivated me to come to England and connect to England from America. I remember a few years ago, up until this point, I started having dreams of Her Majesty the Queen, and she still comes in my dreams all the time. And every time she comes in my dreams, like, she never speaks, she just smiles at me. I wrote her letters, she responded to me, and I realized, you know what, I have to expand my journey and my brotherly and sisterly journey, not just in America, because most people here, they never leave their cities and towns. So our education is not just the books that we read, but it's our experience. Experience, Gabby, is the best teacher that we can have in our life. It's an interesting story I have for you. When I was in the city of Bath, because I was in Windsor, then I went to Bath. I was walking around Bath and I got lost there. I didn't know where I was going because it has a lot of hills, and I was trying to find my way back to the bus. And an individual out of nowhere just came. He was just walking towards me, and he was looking at me and smiling. And I asked him, "Where is it where the coaches are?" And he said, "Just go straight and make a right from there." And I realized, Gabby, that in our lives, our angels are always with us. When we realize that we're alone and we have no hope, there is that force that's loving us, guiding us, protecting us, and looking out for us. And that's the beauty of this human life. And please, I would continue to love to listen to you, and anything that you have to share about humanity, about your work, about who you are. I'm just gonna fall back and listen to you.
Do you know what? I love that story. And when you're saying about our angels are there, like they are, and they do work through people. But I've actually had an experience where I swear down my angel, like, must have incarnated for like a little like weeks period, or maybe it was actually an angel in human form. But like, I met this guy once. I'd gone on holiday with my best friend. I'd just broken up with my boyfriend, and so me and my friend were like, on holiday. We're like having a really nice time just to like get our mind off guys and stuff. And what had happened was she ended up like telling me on the first night, we're out for like a party and stuff, and she ended up telling me that she, long story short, she'd slept with my boyfriend just before we'd come out. And at the time, it was like my heart had just like ripped out, and I didn't really know what to do because I was just on the holiday with her for the whole time.
Mm.
And we'd met these guys, these Irish guys, and there's just this one guy who was just like really nice, whatever. He was actually on his own stag do. He was about to get married, and we just ended up sitting, me and this guy, in his hotel room and just talking all night. He was giving me loads of advice on what to do. He was telling me how much he like loves his his wife that he's going to marry, and like it just felt like I had a big brother for the evening, like fully, like I'd known this guy my whole life. He was like my big brother, and we just had such nice talk. And he really helped me in that moment.
Mm.
And I couldn't remember his name, and like a few years, like it's been a few years now, and I just can't remember his name. I could never get in contact with him again. I don't really know like anything like that. And I heard on the radio like the other day, they were saying, "Oh, give shout outs to those random people in your lives that have helped you in some way, but you've never seen them since." So I thought, oh, do you know what? I'd love to give him a shout out.
Mhm.
And then I didn't do it anyway. But then like a week later, I had like a past life regression, and this guy was saying to me, I ended up meeting one of my guides who was who's from one of the star constellations. I'm trying to think which star constellation he was from. But no, he was in. Do you know any of the star seeds?
Yes, there was a guide that I had spoken to, Gabby. It was about 2 years ago, and she told me that I come from the Palladian star family. I asked her, where do I come from? She said, you come from the Palladian star family in the Taurus constellation, and you know, right now you had the chance to give this great brother and gentleman from Ireland a great shout out, who saw you as a sister and as somebody that he was able to guide. And that's very important, Gabby, in the aspect of today's chaotic and misogynist world that we see, that men and women can have platonic brotherly sister relations and friendships. It's not always about just making love or being in relations or just sleeping with each other. It's more to a man and woman than that, because together we make ourselves whole with the creator, because the creator embodies both. You
Mm,
cannot produce a perfect human being or the complete human being unless you have a man and woman present. So you are absolutely right. And I'm glad that in those positions, that great gentleman and brother was there to guide you and heal you, love you, and protect you.
mm,
I've been in those situations as well in my workplace, college, growing up in the American system, where I had, you know, situations like that. And I would always tell those women that be loyal to yourselves and be loyal to the beings around you, like, you know, the betrayal that you experienced from your best friend. That was it's everything is there to kind of teach you. It's there to teach you and guide you and show you the right path. And that's what we have to do, because when we're in a system of morality, and you'll have the creator, in whichever way you perceive that divinity, will test you in different ways, through greed, through lust, through pride, through envy, and you have to pass through those sins, or those seven deadly sins or temptations, like the Buddha did, like Christ did in the desert, Muhammad did. All of these great teachers that walk this earth, we can
mhm,
all learn from their example. And you know, it's the same with me. When I ran into married women, I would tell them, be loyal to your husband. I don't want anything from you. Be loyal to your husband, be loyal to your friends. And because I know, if I had a wife, Gabby, and if I married a, you know, a good woman in my life, I would expect her to do the same for me.
mm,
So what you put out is what you get. And that's why in your life, you always been blessed, guided, and protected, because ultimately it's your heart. No matter who plots against you or who tries to get in your way, because your heart is pure, because that's where the true initiation occurs, is in the heart. And once your heart is good, my sister, there's no force on this earth that can stop you. And you attested to that in a very beautiful manner. Please continue.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say actually, it's so true what you're saying, and I think that the guy, I don't know whether he actually was one of the angels as opposed to just like a guy. But yeah, like something else that came to mind about balancing your chemistry and balancing the masculine and feminine within, and this is something that both men and women can practice, is I know in the spiritual community they talk about tantric sex a lot.
Mhm.
And what I've learned recently is the orgasm. When you orgasm, it's a spasm to your nervous system, and you end up releasing a bit of your soul. You give away your life force energy when you do. And
Yes.
it also creates a chemical imbalance because you suddenly have this influx of feel good chemicals, followed by a proper low of like afterwards, feeling really low, like you need that high again because
Mhm.
you just done out of balance. And if you are trying to like kind of balance yourself and balance your mood, practicing to not orgasm as much as possible, and trying to practice maintaining your life force chi rather than expelling it out is a
Yes.
really good way of as well of keeping your charisma, keeping your energy, giving you more power to manifest what you want, to have like to feel more energized, and also just to stay more balanced.
Mm.
And that's something that they don't teach us, obviously. And like porn and sexualization is everywhere,
Yes.
even in like kids video games nowadays. The women are running around naked and stuff, and it's like trying to get everyone to expel their soul and their seed all the time. um,
Yes.
and so because obviously when you do orgasm, it's to make a child, it's meant to make a child, so you give away part of your soul because it's to create a new being. And the word child begins with the word chi, which is your life force energy, so you're just giving it away. So yeah, like not saying that you can't ever do it, but it's a good trick that I've learned to be on top of your spiritual game,
Mm.
to try and do that. And when you are plant-based as well, it's a lot easier to do that because again, the hormones in the animals, the animalistic urges to like have sex, if you're not eating the animal products, you're not eating those hormones, so you're not full of steroid, full of like testosterone and wanting to release your seed all the time. It's a lot
Mm.
easier to kind of stay and keep your seed and then use it for your.
Mhm.
Are
Yeah,
you
yeah,
there?
that's right, Gabby, because even if you look at the Freemason and you look at the apron, it's covering up the root chakra. Most people don't realize the esoteric value of the man. And I made a video on this about like a year ago called NoFap, and why it's important for the man to kind of preserve his energy and kind of basically ejaculate up the spine into your like crown chakra, and to basically use that creative life force energy, which I've been able to, this is a practice that I've been able to perfect over time. And that's important because it will show your glow, your love, your energy, and you attract the right manifestations in your life, the right situations, the right events. It's the same applies to the female. Like you said, it's what you eat, how you're honoring yourself, not to just spiritually link up with anybody, because everything could be a connection. And some of it, like you said, what we see in the video games and the TVs, the sexualization of women, and the instant gratification where you could just look at your phone and everything is kind of right there. That eliminates that personal intimacy that a man can have with a woman, personal sacred love, like, tantric love, or, making love to a woman. All of that kind of goes away with the culture of perversion, gratification. And a lot of that stuff they show you, it's all diabolical and perverted. That's not how a man and women should be with each other. So that's very important that you show that it's very important for those relationships to stabilize with each other, where it's true love, true happiness, true fulfillment, and not lust or something that you see just as a moment of gratification. And like you said, that after that you will feel a low, then that means that was not your true feeling. That was just an imperfection in your soul or in your body that's there. And it's interesting when I study these different scriptures, Gabby, it says that we are made in the image of the Creator, in his likeness and in his image. So I would say in our lives journey that you are perfect just the way you are. Whoever is listening to yourself and other people, we think in our lives that we're imperfect, there's something wrong with us. You are perfect just the way you are. And this life, my sister, is like a video game. Yeah, you find the right people at the right time, you find the right doorway, the right key to open the door. It all aligns perfectly in a beautiful synchronistic manner. Which I would also like to ask you, Gabby, is in this world right now where we have everywhere I go, people are just looking at their phones all the time. There's like less human interaction, there's less people talking to each other. How do you see the divine feminine playing this role in a world where men, children, some women, everyone's just kind of disconnected from each other in this artificial reality that we kind of put ourselves in? Please.
Mm. So I think that we just like need to disconnect from that artificial and get back to ourselves. And like whenever I meditate, sometimes I can have like, say I've gone out shopping, my mind is so busy, full of loads of like random thoughts, and I swear they're not all my own, which some of
Yeah.
them are. And I feel like my mind's been plugged into this big collective, crazy like noise everywhere. And
Mm,
as soon as I sit down and meditate for like 15 minutes, it's like suddenly I've just gone back to like myself and silence. And I do believe energetically I've disconnected from whatever this collective noise was.
yes.
And I think that what we need to learn is how to find our kicks in other ways. So the instant gratification of like getting a like on your Facebook post, or
Mm,
feeling like you need these things, it's all just through feeling like you're lacking within yourself. And if you can fulfill yourself and find healthy ways of fulfilling yourself and feeding you energy, then that's where I feel like the future needs to go. And it's hard because it's comfortable to sit on your sofa and eat crap and play on your phone all day. It's really easy. But I
yeah.
think that we need to learn like to get outside, like even if it's like a 20-minute walk to find some stones like Stonehenge, or even just any old stone laying about. If I go and I connect to the stone, so I've got like a staff that I use, a wooden staff, and
Mhm.
if you go and basically put the staff on the stone, you can feel the energy, you absorb it like through the staff in the same way you would if you took your shoes off and was grounding. So I charge up on the stone. I can't tell you how alive I feel. I come back home, I'm not even that hungry. I'm just so full of energy, and I can go to bed and I can use that energy to heal, to like have amazing dreams, and
Yes.
literally, and also because it shifts your frequency higher, I don't get as attacked as much from demons, and I don't pick up as much negative energy. And I can really tell the difference between a day spent on my laptop or on my phone, or a day being out in nature and connecting to the earth.
Mhm.
Um, and so even though, like I said, sometimes you can't really be bothered to go out and about, I think we need to learn to go, because the feeling you get afterwards is amazing. And it's about learning to get rid of these instant gratifications and learn about the long term, and want the long term, like our health, like eating better, like going out and connecting to nature and doing the work now so that we can become our greatest selves, basically. And first things first is turn off the TV. I've not watched TV in so long. And I don't quite know how you do the transition other than just forcing yourself to do it. Just force yourself to put your phone down and go outside, like just do it. And then the more you do it, the more you'll reprogram yourself to want to do that and to enjoy it, because you feel so good after. And that's what I think needs to happen. That's what I think will happen.
Yes.
Um, so
You
yeah.
know, I'm glad you mentioned that because the most important thing I realized in my life, in my struggles of spiritual warfare and the things that I'm involved in, is basically to strengthen your spiritual practices, like what you're doing with the stones and the staff, just like how Moses did. And you are strengthening yourself spiritually as the divine feminine being that you are, connected to that, that energy of Almighty God, which is truly feminine in nature, which many in the patriarchal system kind of inverted it because we live in an inverted reality. And it's very true that you mentioned that just put your phone down, go walk 20, 30 minutes a day, meditate under the trees, talk to the birds, ground your feet. And this is what I love doing. This is a morning ritual for me also, where every morning before I do anything, I go, I walk, I connect to nature, I do my affirmations. I pray for all beings of humanity that we're all loved, guided, protected, and provided for. And that's the world that I think you and I will kind of co-create, and those that are on our frequency, other brothers and sisters of this path, will envision that light and love and happiness that is coming for all of us in the days ahead.
Mm.
And
You know,
that's basically it.
yeah. And something else that I was thinking is, I used to like hate being in the present moment because I just feel like it was so boring. Like there's nothing here.
Mhm.
It's just stillness. It's what's even here. And I used to always like kind of want to watch TV or like go off into my own thoughts and fantasize about things. And it was about this mental escapism for me.
Yes.
And what I learned was that that's all like fun, but it's nothing compared to the spiritual realm and the world that you can discover if you quiet yourself, if you sit in the present moment, and if you train your like third eye to come back on, if you decalcify your third eye, if you train yourself spiritually to grow, suddenly you can start hearing the spirits, suddenly you can see through the dimensions, and suddenly you can astral travel, and there's a whole universe to explore. And
Yes.
once you start going, do you know what? This phone like or this movie, it's entertaining, but it's nothing compared to this world that I can actually explore once I strengthen my spiritual gifts up and stuff. You can
Mhm.
almost use that as your little kind of like, it's like a little piece of bait on a string that you like gonna chase and stuff. It's something that you can look forward to, and that's the reason why you can do spiritual practices. Is there's so much more to discover in the present moment once you just learn and once you become more aware and more sensitive and stuff. So yeah.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And it's very interesting because it's always your heart, Gabby. Your heart is always your guiding key. And that's what I always realized in my life is you have like your gut feeling and then the feeling of the heart. But most people don't realize how powerful, like from the occult and spiritual perspective, both the gut and the heart are, where you have these chambers of the heart. And the deeper you look into your heart, the deeper that you unlock it, the more that you have the intuition of knowing what to do, when to do it, how to say it. And that just kind of naturally guides you in your life. Now, when I wake up, there's one thing that I do is it's the aspect of surrendering to the divine and letting the will of the divine be done. So I say that I surrender myself and let your will be done through my vessel, through my presence, through my voice. And that's what I hope, Gabby, that I fight for a world where everyone is loved, equally respected, women, children, no matter what your class or your race or who you are, what you believe, where you come from. There's truth in all of it. It's a point within a circle, and everything around it is a tapestry of different colors and patterns that's to be loved, respected, and cherished. And it all leads you to that oneness. It all leads you to that oneness. And I think that's the world that we're envisioning, and that it's going to get worse before it gets better, of course, but things do get better as time goes on. Which I would also like to ask you is that disconnect that humanity has with each other from all races, religions, and creeds. I look at the news. I come from different backgrounds, and I see everywhere everyone is experiencing their own issues. Now, what would you advise from the divine feminine in terms of how can these people and humanity kind of uplift themselves from their fallen state, as you can say, like the fallen state of humanity, and how can they get back to a better state or a more stable, grounded level?
I think that it's literally just doing the work. So the biggest thing I will always say is just your food, like sort out your diet.
Hmm.
Um, I know that you can actually become enlightened and ascend if you are plant-based, if you are clean. Cleanliness is a really important one, actually. Cleanliness is next to godliness. So if you like want to eat food, like wash your hands first before you put anything in your mouth. And this cleanliness thing is really important, and something that I think God has planned in with the whole coronavirus thing, because now everyone's washing their hands, everyone's trying to be more clean and stuff. And so it's almost like he's guiding everyone how to ascend, how to become our highest and best spiritually enlightened selves.
Yes.
So obviously it's all about balancing our chemistry, and once we balance our chemistry, you balance your energy of your masculine and feminine, everything follows suit. And so yeah, it's like doing the shadow work, eating alkaline, trying not to orgasm. It's just the spiritual practices, really, but they're there for a reason. They aren't there just to waste time or for fun. They're
Right.
there to bring you to that godliness state. Like, you want to create yourself and become like God or like the Christ. Like, the most best thing you can do is to try and become godly and become like these beings who were here and who were teaching us all this stuff. So that's what we need to do. And once we do that, and also once we even tap into the spiritual realm, once we're aware that we are all souls and not these vessels, how
Yeah.
could you be racist, or how could you be sexist and all this? Because you know that on the soul level, we're all the same anyway. We've all been each race, we've all been each gender, we've all, like, whatever could separate us, how can it now? Because I'm so aware of the oneness and the unity that exists beyond this vessel. It's only the ego that separates, and the ego is not us. Like, we do not associate with the ego. And so once we ascend out the ego, out of our animalistic natures, and become these higher beings and these higher selves, everything else, like, it just follows suit. Once you love yourself, you can love everyone else. And it's always just comes back to you, it comes back to us, basically. And yeah, looking at ourselves and making the changes within ourselves. Yeah.
That's right. And I thank you for that, Gabby. Now I would like to ask you, what how can the people here in America, like, my friends and brothers, everyone that's watching this, how can they find you? How can they support you? How can they support your work? And how can they contact you? And how can we kind of connect more with each other and leave this world in a better way? And any closing remarks or thoughts that you will have? And please take your time. I'm enjoying listening to you.
Thanks. So you can find me on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube as Gaby Zacara. So it's GabyZacara.
Hmm.
And I also do release music as well. So I've got like my music on Spotify and SoundCloud, and Apple Music and things like that. So if anyone wanted to check out the music, I've got a new song coming out soon, actually, and it's called Moon. Which to me embodies like the divine feminine. But it's interesting because some people think that the moon's like a satellite, or it's been taken over by negative AI and stuff, and it's lacking that divine feminine now. But for me, the moon still is the divine feminine. So yeah, I've got a new song coming out, which will be really lovely if anyone wanted to support and have a listen once it's out. But yeah, like, just out of interest, like, what your thoughts on the moon? Like, do you have any personal opinions or?
Yes, I do, because in the aspect of Sufism, they tell you that the moon is basically a feminine nature. It's a feminine nature, and it's that, and the sun is masculine. So the masculine and feminine, they complement each other, just like how the sun shines its light on the moon, and it shines its light on the earth, and the moon kind of reflects that light back into the sun and the earth. Now that is a true love story, Gabby, where both of them uh, honor the cycle of nature and life, because if there was no moon and no sun, there would be no life on this earth, because of the type of the way that they complement each other in terms of maintaining that balance for the tides, the waters, the sun helping everything grow with the light. So we need each other. We need each other as the male and the feminine, and just to honor each other's divine nature, to protect each other. And for the men listening, you see women that are being abused or anything that's happening to them, and they don't have the courage to act on their own. You as a divine masculine, that's your responsibility from karma and God in all of the religions that are out there. They're all teaching you to love and honor and respect and protect your women and cherish them and love them. So that's just the way the sun and the moon are, masculine, feminine,
Mm.
and the way that they're honoring the cycle and life on planet Earth, which you and I, share this space. Because in reality, we think it's separate countries, but in reality, it's just one land. It's one
Mm.
land that's kind of separated by the waters, how the other realms are kind of separated by the waters in the way that things are just designed that the way that they are. If you look at the globe, if you go to space and just look at the globe spinning in harmony, it's just one body, no country, no religion, no gender, nothing. Everything is one. That, my sister, is the reality of who we are as human beings. Everything is totally one, no matter who you are, where you come from, your gender. And in our previous incarnations, we were all of those things. And if, as soon as we realize that and honor that within ourselves and those around us, then that's when we create a better world. And I know in the Sufi perspective, they tell us that heaven lies at the feet of your mother. And the mother is anything that embodies the feminine. So the only way that you can heal this world is when you start healing and protecting, your feminine, and internally and externally in the physical avatars, in whichever way her beauty manifests as. You protect her, honor her, cherish her, and do everything you can to be there for her. That's when the healing of this world will begin. And I believe you're right. Within the next 10 to 20 years, I hope I live long enough within my lifetime to witness that in my current state, in my current avatar. And I hope, Gabby, my sister, that our journeys unite us one day when I come to the future in England and we continue this aspect of working together and helping humanity together. And for my friends in America that are listening, I will post all of our links in the description below so you know where to go and support her and just help us in this journey that we're in together. And I also give my permission to Sister Gabby to, when I upload this video, to use this video have she sees fit on her channel or use it anywhere else. You have my permission on that regard, and I will put all the links in the description. And it's
Mhm.
my honor and privilege and pleasure, Gabby, as my sister and as the divine feminine. I honor you, I cherish you, I love you, and I thank you for everything that you're doing for humanity. And please, any closing remarks?
Just like keep doing what you're doing as well. You're so wonderful, and it's a blessing to have met you. And yeah, like you say, like definitely when you next come to England, let's go to the Stonehenges and stuff and collect that energy. But yeah, like it's been such an amazing time to be on, and thanks for sharing your wisdom as well. And yeah, just hopefully we'll be united sometime soon. Yeah.
Yes, there's always a right time and right place for everything. And our real purpose, Gabby, is just to lift each other's hearts and enjoy the experience and journey called life. Because one day when we pass from this earth, we just become distant memories in somebody's story or in somebody's heart. So the greatest asset or the gift that we can have is the connection of our hearts. And I'm grateful to you and everything that you embody and represent. And please, you also continue doing what you're doing because you are one of those lights that's helping keep England afloat in this time of chaos, division, and darkness, where people are kind of figuring out what to do and what's going on in terms of the political landscape and everything that's happening. You keep embodying that light and that balance that you do as the divine feminine protector and nature that you are. So I honor you and I cherish you, and I look forward to the day where our journeys unite and we can do that healing together.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you,
thank
and
you so much.
thank you, and much love.
Much love to you.